The sun did shine on the world of snow as I left my footprints in my wake. But this was a mountainous landscape, much closer to heaven's blue-tainted ceiling. Contrary to expectation, it was as if the heat had been drained out of the sunlight. The snow-washed world had cast an enchantment over the fiery orb overhead, leaving the sun's radiance soothing and caressing against my flushed skin. I had been preparing for this trip all my life. Well, not literally, but the longing had been there for as long as I can remember. My grandmother would tell me stories of magicians and kings, flying carpets, and magical roses as a child. She would recount events that unfolded in the lands of once upon a time and happily ever afters. I remember how my childish heart would flutter with my beloved grandmother's great descriptions and dramatic narrations. These experiences instilled a love for magical and mesmerizing ideas that invoked a childlike sense of wonder. Even today, this ability to get excited and gleeful like a child is the most precious thing for me. I believe all of us need to preserve that capacity that finds the world new and fresh with every glance. A perspective where sunsets and sunrises are delightful as ever. I halt in my tracks, pulling up the collar of my fur coat against the chilling breeze that kicks up. Sprays of snow are suspended in the air, catching the sunlight, glimmering and sparkling like pearls. These snowy pearls are strewn over the ground, matted with more snow still. I notice the way the cascades of snow come down from tree branches. In the distance, snow-capped mountains appear before me. How many adventurers have these mountains seen before me? There are settlements down below in the valley, houses with thatched, sloping roofs. The residents of these houses depend on tourists for their livelihood. There are inns with warm hearths and bread and beds for wayfarers. The previous day, that is where I had sojourned before heading out for the mountain top. The path was a bit daunting. Many fellow explorers had offered to accompany me, but this was something I had to do on my own. For if the rumors were true, I was in for a great treat. My fascination with the transcendent had never left me in all my years. It was my way of staying in touch with my late grandmother's spirit. I have the loveliest little daughter back home, 3 years old, and possess a vibrant curiosity and imagination. Her mother is a fantastic artist who loves to draw and paint in her spare time. She swipes the paintbrush with skillful strokes over canvases to depict prairies and streams, rainbows and waterfalls, meadows and woods. We met in college during my sophomore year when we took a literature class together. A brief chit-chat was all that was needed for the souls to seep into one another, for hearts to synchronize in their beating. It was a love meant to be, and it did. A few months later, I looked into her stunning blue eyes, pouring out my heart's feelings to her. Her eyes, suffused with the depths of the ocean, welled up as she confessed her feelings back to me. We stood in the campus park late at night, cloaked by the moon's milky glow, wrapped around us as we embraced. In that one moment, I had lived my entire life's happiness. But it was nothing compared to the day our daughter was born. A beautiful little angel in which all our endless love had been poured. My beloved sat on the bed, holding our daughter in her arms. I sat beside her, my arm around her shoulders, as she placed her head on my chest. We were both weeping with joy, knowing that we had created life. The breeze had calmed down as I was brought back to the present. Taking a long, deep breath, I exhaled ever so slowly. The warmth of my breath froze in the frigid air. I wondered what my beloved and little angel were doing right now. They would probably be cuddled up by the fireplace, reading stories together, laughing and smiling. Their melodic laughter rang in my ears as their smiling faces darted through my vision. It was like the wind carried their mirthful chortles. The sky above me, laden with fluffy clouds, was the tapestry against which their faces were painted. I missed them badly, my arms longing to hold them against me, kissing them on the head and telling them just how much I loved them, letting them know how I was nothing without them, how they made life not only worth living, but heaven, in which I wanted to spend eternity by their side. A warm sensation washed through me, warming my heart and every fiber of my being. The frigid cold had nothing against me. I stood there as the happiest human being in the world, taking in another deep breath. I carried on with my journey, thinking of all my loved ones. I thought of my grandparents, looking down at me as I thought of them. Grandmother gave the gift of stories, of making me realize how much beauty the world contained. Through the fairy tales she told, she basically taught me about life and all its complexities. Even now, I find myself processing experiences and events in the framework of those stories, because that is how important stories are. They are the little nuggets in which life finds its representation. Grandpa, on the other hand, taught me how to enjoy sports. He would sit me on his lap whenever a game was on the television. We would go into our little garden and play baseball. Grandpa would always encourage me to become better by applauding my every minor achievement. Whenever I got decent grades or did well in sports, he would ruffle my hair and say, "That's my little guy," and take me out for ice cream and hamburgers. But it wasn't just that. He was always there for me through difficult times. Whenever I felt down for some reason, he would silently come over, pat me on the back, and tell me how things were not as bad as I was making them out to be. He would also explain how making mistakes and wrong choices were necessary to become a better version of ourselves. I look up at the sky, smiling and brimming with gratitude. I feel blessed to have those memories in my mind. So, that was what childhood's wondrous hour was like. Grandmother and Grandpa were always there to tell me stories and lift my spirits. I wish to be every bit as wonderful to my daughter as they were to me. My parents live a few minutes away from my home. Pushing on as the sun begins its descent into the horizon, watching the sky in its warmer shade of red, I think of the beautiful impact they have had on my life. Mother is a retired school teacher who taught kindergarten and makes the best pancakes in the world. After Grandma left us, she took over to keep reading stories to me from books of fairy tales and myths. It was much later that I realized that she would alter the renditions of many of the stories in the books. Not only that, but the stories that Grandma told were concoctions of her own, imagined from the very famous stories from around the world. Much like Grandpa, my father had a different influence on me. He taught me the value of hard work and doing an honest day's work. He was a hard-working man himself before retirement, working as a salesman to provide for our family. I hold them all at once in my heart. My parents, grandparents, my better half, and my loveliest angel. I thank God that He blessed me with all of them. For as a younger person, I had realized that family and loved ones were all that mattered in the end. Love's most outstanding achievement is to keep these bonds and ties strong. We must forgive one another, overlook our flaws, cherish the good things, and help each other become better with the power of love and selflessness. This is how I have spent my life. I hope my loveliest angel would do the same. My destination draws nearer as the sun all but disappears. Ever so faintly, the moon materializes above, that embodiment of all things tranquil and lovely. My beloved did not accompany me on this trip because she is not overly fond of exhausting hikes. But that's all right. There are things one must do for oneself only. I have been engrossed in finding magically beautiful places For many years, reading through a travel guide, I stumbled across the description of an enchanting lake somewhere on these mountains. They said, despite the cold, the lake did not freeze over. Instead, fluorescent fishes were known to swim in it, flapping their tails. And that was where I was headed. By now, the moon had come to dominate the sky. The snow acted differently under the moonlight as flakes captured the orb's radiance. The glistening was much more soothing and delightful now as the sky began to sprinkle more flakes. They collected over my fur coat as I walked on with my backpack slung over my shoulders. Up ahead was a cluster of trees, their shadows laid out over the snowy ground. A path meandered through them into the mountain's heart. According to what I had read, the lake was supposed to be through the course, engulfed by snow-sprinkled trees. Once inside, I felt warmth under the still shadows of the canopies. By now, my back had started to strain, as did my shoulders. My tired body wanted to sleep, to spiral into the world of dreams. But my destination was still a little further away. All the things required to set up camp were in my backpack, so I was all prepared for the journey ahead. Walking through the path, I heard owls hooting their nocturnal songs in the trees. Their glowing orbs for eyes were etched into the darkness, looking out at me. I smiled at their gaze, happy to know I was not alone in this world of snow. Their hoots accompanied me all the way through the trees. Moonlight filtered through the leaves, embellished the ground. At long last, I arrived at the mouth of the woods on the mountaintop, the exit to it. Even from afar, I caught a glimpse of the lake. Never had I seen a more stunning shade of blue. My heart leaped for joy. Finally, I was out in the open, standing with the lake in my sight. Despite the star-spangled mantle that covered the sky, the fluorescent blue of the water dominated the tableau before me. My breath slowed down as I stood in awe. Indeed, blue fishes glowing beat their tails to propel themselves through the water. There was a stream that ended into the lake, another that meandered away downhill. From the glacier, way high overhead, came the water in the lake. I circled the place, relishing the calm stillness of it all, admiring the rippling waters. At long last, a great yawn escaped me as I stretched, feeling fulfilled and contented. Taking off my backpack, I scouted for the ideal spot to set up camp. Once I had done so and lit a fire on the portable stove, I warmed some milk and threw in some chocolate. My meal consisted of fruits. With both my soul and body nourished, I went inside my sleeping bag and closed my eyes. It hardly took a few seconds for the most beautiful sleep to come over me.